What's up, guys? Meon. I'm back with another video, and I'm filming this just before 11 o'clock on Wednesday night. You're gonna see this Thursday morning or sometime Thursday. But with the NFL season pretty much here, and the Buccaneers and the Cowboys set to square off Thursday night to open up the season, I figured let's go ahead and let's do my regular season or my season predictions. Regular season, playoffs, bold predictions, because there obviously will be. Um, and yeah, so I have everything picked, and there's gonna be some picks that I know a lot of people are not gonna agree on. But that being said, this is gonna be one interesting season. It really will be. So, with all that being said, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And with all of that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump right into it, shall we? So, I'm going to go basically from the bottom of the conferences up. So, for the first group, I have the teams that are in no way, shape, or form Super Bowl or playoff contenders. Those would be Houston, the New York Jets, Jacksonville, Cincinnati, Detroit, Carolina, and the New York Giants. I have Houston going 1-16. The only win they get this season, the only one they get, I have them beating Carolina in week 3. Maybe they pull off a win over Trevor Lawrence's debut this weekend, but no, I'm not giving them that. And even the game against Carolina, I'm not even sure. Honestly, Houston could go winless this year. Like, their ceiling is 3, maybe 4 wins. The floor is 0-17. So, yeah. They are a dumpster fire. The Jets 3-14, the aforementioned Jaguars 4-13, as well as the Bengals 4-13. Lions, Panthers, and the Giants all 4-13 as well. And yeah, these are the most obvious teams that will not be playoff contenders. The only one out of them that I can see making a run, truthfully, is the Giants. But with Dak being back and Jalen Hurts playing with a chip on his shoulder, probably, and Washington's defense, the Giants will need some miracles. And yeah, I don't see that. So now we get into the group of teams who you could argue that maybe they could get into a wild card spot, probably like the 6th or 7th seed. If the cards fall right, maybe they go better, but probably will not make the playoffs. And for that, I have the Raiders, the Steelers. I'm going to put the Patriots in here, even despite their record a little bit. The Eagles, the Falcons, the Bears, and the Cardinals. Now, I have the Eagles, Eagles, Falcons, and Bears all going 6-11. I have the Raiders, Steelers, and Cardinals all going 7-10, and I have the Patriots at 8-9. Now, the Patriots releasing Cam Newton impacts my picking for them. And honestly, I could see them going maybe even losing another game, going 7-10. I think that's really the floor for them. It's going to be a learning experience here for Mac Jones. With Newton at the helm, I think they probably could have made the playoffs as a 6 or 7 seed. Which even still, that would require Newton to have a big bounce back year compared to last year. But again, Jones being a rookie, it's going to take him time to learn. And I would be kind of surprised if New England manages to make the playoffs with some of these other teams that are going to be fighting, especially for these wild card spots, and with how top heavy the AFC is. Steelers and Raiders, I think it's self-explanatory. The Raiders are extremely inconsistent. Um, and, I mean, you look at the schedule as a whole for this Raiders team, the thing for them is, before their Week 8 bye, they could probably go 3-4, 4-3, probably win a game, lose a game, win a game, lose a game. The floor for them in that stretch is like 1-6, 2-5. Because they open the season with the Ravens, Steelers, Dolphins, Chargers, Bears, Broncos, and then Eagles. And then after that, if they get the Giants, then the Chiefs, then the Bengals, who I have beating them, and then the Cowboys, and then Washington, and then the Chiefs, and then the Browns, and the Broncos, and the Colts, and the Chargers. So I don't see the Raiders going to the playoffs. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Derek Carr. I don't know if this may or may not be his last year there. He might get traded at some point. And then for the Steelers, well, Ben Roethlisberger's last year, hopefully, ain't gonna be, in a playoff game. His last game will not be a playoff game. If they had even half of an offensive line, they'd probably make the playoffs. But between that and the TJ Watt situation, which is basically they don't want to pay him because they have a set way of doing things and they haven't grown from that and moved on from it. And Watt might sit out until he does get paid. I just don't see Pittsburgh getting in, especially with Cleveland being far better than they have been prior to last year. So, yeah. And then on the NFC side, I think it's self-explanatory as well for the Eagles, Bears, and Falcons. Bears are starting out with Andy Dalton. Justin Fields is going to get out there at some point. It's going to be a learning experience year. Falcons, they have a propensity to choke, and it's really interesting. It feels like they're trying to contend. But if you're doing that, why would you trade Julio Jones? And also the defense still has questions. And then, like I said, the Eagles, Jalen Hurts is going to play with a chip on his shoulder because a lot of people, the fan base especially, don't seem to trust him. They don't seem to believe in him. And I think he's going to make, they won't make the playoffs, but I think he'll make people believe in him. But the fact that the roster is aging and things like that, that's truly where, that's where I think that's why I think that's another reason why I think they'll fall short. And then for the Cardinals, if it wasn't for the fact that the NFC West is so cutthroat this year, maybe they'd have a better shot at making the playoffs. And who knows? They might sneak one out. But if the 49ers can stay healthy and the Rams being the way that they are and the Cardinals' consistency issues, I don't see them doing it. So, with all that being said, now we get to the teams that are just on the outside looking in. And I think you're going to be surprised with a couple of the teams that I've got here. It's 2 for the AFC, 2 for the NFC. But for the AFC, I have Baltimore and Miami both finishing 9-8. And on the NFC side, I have the Saints and the Seahawks finishing 8-9 each. And Baltimore, the thing with them is they can make the playoffs, but they're having injury issues already in their backfield. Which is a big issue. Can Lamar Jackson take his game another step further? And can the wide receivers get consistent? If things pan out properly, I mean, you look at their schedule. I have them opening up the season with a loss to the Raiders. Okay? Week 4 against Denver. If that defense, with that defense being the way that it is, even if Bridgewater is a little inconsistent. There's a chance Denver pulls that game out. Chargers, I mean, hell, I have them beating the Colts, but the Colts could beat them. I have them losing to the Chargers. I have them beating Minnesota off of their bye week, but, Minnesota, they're inconsistent, but they could still win. I have them beating Miami on Thursday night in week 10, which we'll get to in a moment. And it's like they're going to split within their own division, aside from the Bengals. They'll sweep them. But they're going to lose. But they're going to lose like 3 straight to Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Green Bay. And then the Rams in Week 17 is going to be the game that's going to officially kick them out of a playoff spot and prevent them from making it, unless other teams ahead of them fall. And then for Miami, the issue there is Tua. I'm not saying that he's a bad quarterback, but this is his first year being the sole starting quarterback without a Ryan Fitzpatrick to throw in there from time to time. And it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting to see how he adjusts. Now, there are games that I have them losing, like to the Raiders in Week 3 and the Falcons in Week 7, that they could very well win. Okay? Most of their wins, like, they're going to close out their season from weeks 11 to 18, winning 5 of their last 7 games. And they have a bye week in week 14, which is the other issue, having a late bye. If they can beat the Raiders and beat the Falcons, then they're in the playoffs. Hell, I mean, but then again, there's a couple of games that could go either way. Falcons and Raiders, obviously. The Colts game week 4. The Ravens game week 10. Hell, even against the Giants week 13, shockingly. And the Saints in week 16, which I have them losing. So, I will be interested to see what Miami does. Can they make the playoffs? Certainly. I mean, hell, they won 10 games and missed the playoffs last year. But it's going to be interesting to see how Tua does. And on the NFC side, New Orleans and Seattle, I don't know what's the bigger hot take. The Saints winning 8 games or Seattle not making the playoffs. I'm going to go with New Orleans winning 8 games because, let's be honest here, they're starting Jameis Winston. That's all that really needs to be said. And I mean, I have them beating Seattle. I have them beating New England in week 3. And Miami, of course. But some of those games, if they go the other way, then they're back to like 5 or 6 wins. And that's very well possible. But the thing that gives me a little bit of optimism is the fact that the Saints have a lot of still have star players on offense and defense. Obviously, Michael Thomas is going to be out for a little bit, and apparently he wants a trade. And they're probably going to rely heavily on Alvin Kamara. But we'll see what happens. And then Seattle. Honestly, I mean, the fact that I have Minnesota making the playoffs over Seattle is, it's a combination of the fact that, again, the NFC West is going to be cutthroat as all hell, and the fact that Wilson is probably going to have to run for his life again. That defense is probably going to suck ass, and there's only so much that offense is going to be able to do. This is probably going to be the first year with Russell Wilson as their quarterback that they don't make the playoffs. And look, I have them literally losing their first 4 games and only being 3-5 before their week 9 bye. Most of their wins are going to come in the second half of the season. And that's because of the fact that they're going to split with their division, with Arizona and San Francisco. And I have them beating the Texans, Bears, and Lions. But the fact that Washington's defense is probably going to give them an edge in their Week 12 game. The other 2 losses I have in this stretch of games is the Rams and the Cardinals, and they'll lose to Green Bay coming off of their bye week. But again, they're another team where they can make the playoffs, but the question is, will they? And I think the only way they do is if Stafford doesn't pan out in Los Angeles with the Rams, or the 49ers get hurt again. If one or both happen, then yeah, Seattle's probably going to win this division by default. But it's not going to be a good season for them, and it's going to lead to even bigger questions. And maybe the trade request that Wilson had, that ended up not happening. That might actually happen for real next year. So let's go ahead now, with all that being said, and take a look at the playoffs. The 7 teams that will be on either side. For the AFC, I have the 14-3 Chiefs, the 13-4 Browns, the 13-4 Bills, the 11-6 Titans, the 11-6 Chargers, the 10-7 Broncos, and the 10-7 Colts in the playoffs, with of course the Chargers, Broncos, and Colts being in the wild card. Excuse me. And I think the hot take here is the fact that the Broncos are in the playoffs. Now, if they decided to start Drew Lock out of the gate, I wouldn't see them going 5-1 in their first 6 games. Because look, the Broncos have the Giants, Jaguars, Jets, and Ravens to open up the first 4 weeks. I have them pulling their upset over the Ravens. The other 3 games are easy wins. And I mean, hell, most of their wins are going to come at home this year, I think. I have them losing to Pittsburgh, and then after this 5-1 start, they'll lose to the Browns football team and the Cowboys before beating the Eagles prior to their bye week. And it's more so the defense than it is the offense for the Broncos. The defense is insane for them. They're getting Miller back. They're getting Bradley Chubb back, although maybe not week 1. They got Surtain. That defense is bolstered all to hell. Really, it's the offense that they have to worry about. I think Bridgewater will do better than Locke, but we'll see what happens. They're going to at least get to 7 or 8 wins this year, I think. But mostly on the backs of that defense. But that being said, don't count them out. And then the Colts. The Colts are a slight hot take because I'll be honest with you, I have them winning the first 2 games of their season, which they could very well lose both to Seattle and the Rams, then lose 3 straight to the Titans, Dolphins, and Ravens, beat the Texans, lose to San Francisco, beat the Titans and Jets, lose to Jacksonville, lose to Buffalo and Tampa, beat Houston, and then they get a late bye. Injuries is going to be the issue for them. Just saying. But on the NFC side, we have the 15-2 Buccaneers, the 14-3 Packers, the 12-5 Cowboys, the 12-5 49ers, the 11-6 football team, the 11-6 Rams, and the 10-7 Vikings. Vikings, they'll sneak their way in there. Again, Seattle falling out, Vikings get in. So your wild card matchups are the Titans and the Chargers, the Bills and the Broncos, and the Browns and the Colts on the AFC side. While on the NFC side, you have the 49ers and the football team, the Cowboys and the Rams, and the Packers and the Vikings. I think the easiest games I think to predict out of these predicted matchups, Packers are going to steamroll the Vikings. The Browns are going to knock out the Colts. And the Bills are going to knock out the Broncos. But if that Broncos defense is still healthy by this point and they get in, they're going to give the Bills hell. I mean, we almost saw the Colts beat the Bills last year. So it can be done. It is possible. We'll see. But for the other matchups, we'll start with the Titans and the Chargers. The thing here is, and I'm going to pick the Chargers in this matchup. I've seen some people say that the Chargers probably won't make the playoffs, that they're learning an entirely new system, and I understand that. But I believe in Justin Herbert, damn it. That offense is pretty solid. That defense is pretty good. They're finally going to have Derwin James because he's going to be healthy again. And I think Herbert's going to take a big leap. I'm not going to say that he's going to be the MVP like Brett Coleman says he's going to be, as he did in his predictions video, but he's going to take a huge step. And I think next year is going to be an even bigger step once they have a year under this system under their belts. But I do think it's possible that they could beat the Titans in this proverbial playoff matchup, simply because I do not believe in that Titans defense. And honestly, the Titans could be better than 11-6 if they had a better defense. They could probably be the 2 or 3 seed, and have a few more wins if they had a better defense. I mean, hell, they face Buffalo and then Kansas City in back-to-back weeks. I mean, some of the games that I have them losing, like to the Rams, to the Bills, to the Patriots, to the Steelers, to the 49ers, especially the Patriots, Steelers, and 49ers games late in the season. If they had a better defense, they could very well win those 3 games alone, which would put them at 14-3 and put them right up there with the Chiefs in the number 1 area. Hell, the fact that I had them beating the Chiefs in week 7 by virtue of that, and if they won those 3 games against the Patriots, the Steelers, and 49ers, that would make the Titans the number 1 seed by virtue of them beating the Chiefs. So, yeah, it's possible. But the defense is going to cost them games. And that's why I think the Chargers would beat the Titans in this proverbial playoff matchup. On the other side, Washington, San Francisco. I'm taking the football team here. Here's why. A lot of it's going to have to do with that defense. They gave Brady and the Bucs a run for their money in the wild card game, and that was with Taylor Heinicke starting quarterback, rather than Alex Smith, who was out with injury. Now you have Ryan Fitzpatrick. You still have Heinicke. The offense is looking to be pretty solid. The defense is going to look to be even out. It's going to look to be even better. Meanwhile, you have a 49ers team that, when healthy, when we saw them healthy, they went all the way to a fucking Super Bowl. And the only reason why I don't have them winning, say, 13 or 14 games, like I have them losing to the Packers in week 3, I have them splitting within their division, so I think the Cardinals will win one of the 2 games against them. And I have the 49ers losing to the Vikings. Yeah. As well. I think the only reason why I really have it that way is because of the fact that, well, 2 things. 1, injuries. And 2, you're starting Jimmy Garoppolo, and then Trey Lance is eventually going to get in there, depending on how Garoppolo plays. So this record's going to really fluctuate, especially with how cutthroat the NFC West is going to be, which I've said multiple times over now. So with that being said, I'm taking the football team in this one. It might be a little bit of a hot take, but that's my pick here. And then the other matchup that I think is going to be harder to predict if these matchups happen is the Cowboys and the Rams. And with Matthew Stafford being in LA, I think he's gonna need to prove that he's better than what was shown in Detroit. Because, was it their team around him holding him back? Or is he just a stat guy? And now Cam Akers is obviously going to be out with a torn ACL. But you still have Aaron Donald. You still have some pretty damn good wide receivers. You got Sony Michel from the Patriots via trade. The rest of that defense looks pretty good. I really think, honestly, this could go either way. Because for the Cowboys, right now the question is Dak Prescott. And of course, can Zeke Elliott stop fumbling? The offensive line's not the same as it used to be. The defense looks to be solid, but you also have Mike McCarthy as your head coach. So even if you win the division, which is not a given thanks to Washington, whatever seed you get, you're probably going to face you're probably going to face whoever doesn't win the NFC West, or you're going to end up facing the team that you beat out to win your own division. So I have the Rams beating the Cowboys here. So then we go to the divisional round. Cleveland against Buffalo, Kansas City against the Chargers, Green Bay against Washington, and Tampa Bay against Los Angeles. Now, the only reason why I don't have Tampa Bay going 17-0 is because of the fact that the two losses I have going to them are against the Rams in Week 3 and against the football team in Week 10. Maybe they lose to the Buffalo Bills in Week 14, but outside of that, outside of that, there's no reason why they shouldn't at least win 15 games this year. So, sorry, Matt Stafford, but welcome back to the playoffs. You're out in the divisional round. Bye-bye. Cleveland against Buffalo. I think that game could go either way. That's honestly what I wanted the AFC Championship game to be last year. Sadly, Kansas City had to ruin that. I have Cleveland taking that game. It's going to be another step for the Browns. They're going to go to the AFC Championship game for the first time in, since the 80s? And then Chiefs, they will take the Chargers out. Like I said, Herbert will make the playoffs. He'll win a playoff game. Next year is going to be the bigger step. Now, the hot take here is if we get this matchup, I'm sorry, Tom Grassi, but I'm taking the football team over the Packers if we get this matchup in the playoffs in the division round. And again, a lot of it's going to have to do with Washington's defense. Obviously, the Packers are starting the season without David Bakhtiari, and they'll get him back at some point. But the question is can he stay healthy the rest of the year? Kevin King. That's all I'll say there. And what a way would it be for Aaron Rodgers to go out in the divisional round to a nameless team, and what will probably be Rodgers' last year in Green Bay. And not only that, but this Packers offense specifically is probably going to get dismantled in the offseason. If Rodgers is gone, Adams is gone, MVS might not come back. Yeah. So enjoy this season while you can, Green Bay, because you might not be good for a while afterward. So then we go to the championship games. Kansas City against Cleveland and Tampa Bay against Washington. Tampa Bay is going to avenge their regular season loss against Washington. If Ryan Fitzpatrick takes this fucking team to the Super Bowl, I will lose my goddamn mind. So that's the easy matchup to pick. The harder matchup to pick is Kansas City against Cleveland. And we almost saw Cleveland beat Kansas City last year in the divisional round. And honestly, I think they'll do it this time. I think we will not see Tampa Bay versus Kansas City Part 2. We will see the Cleveland Browns finally make the fucking Super Bowl. They've never been there before, and they'll be the new team. They'll be the newest team to make it there. Which means the only teams that have never made the Super Bowl would now be down to the Lions, the Texans, and the Jaguars. Because every other team in the league has been there at least once. So Cleveland will be the newest team to make it there. And like I said, and it's going to be a hell of a game. But yeah. So, Super Bowl, what is it? 56, I believe. Tampa Bay against Cleveland. The swan song season of the Cleveland Browns will end here. They will lose. Brady gets ring number 8. And probably will not retire because then he's going to go after ring number 9 next year. So, yeah. That's all I'll say there. But with all that being said, let me know your predictions down below. I know this video is kind of long. If you're still here by the end of it, thank you for watching. I truly appreciate it. And please make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. And thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.